Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of the Boston Talk. I'm your host, Angelica, and today we will be discussing a rather serious topic, dyslexia. Dyslexia is a disorder that makes it difficult for the person affected to read and write. It also often causes a child to have a difficult time in spelling and differentiating directions. According to the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, dyslexia affects 20% of the population and represents 80 to 90% of all those with learning disabilities. It is the most common of all neurocognitive disorders. If gone untreated, its symptoms may severely affect a child's literacy as an adult. Lamal Al-Lamki's article, Dyslexia, tells us that the school dropout rate for dyslexics can be as high as 35%, twice as the national average of school dropout rate of many countries. Statistics like these are enough to scare anyone, especially parents and teachers. However, they're important to discuss because it shows us how useful dyslexia screenings are. In this podcast, we will be focusing on Samuel W. Mason Elementary School, Roxbury, a majority African American neighborhood, and according to the Yale Center of Dyslexia and Creativity again, even though it is by far the most common reading disability, many of those with dyslexia remain undiagnosed and untreated. This is especially true in public schools and even more so in African American and Latino communities. To give us some perspective, we have a number of guests here with us, starting off with Melissa Sapini.
Thank you so much for having us. Having a child with dyslexia is extremely frustrating and stressful, more so for my son than my husband and I. No parent wants to see their child struggle and left behind. My son Peter is such a bright kid with so much potential, but the lack of resources within Samuel W. Mason Elementary School in Roxbury makes it difficult to help him grow as a student. I've done everything I can in order to book a screening. I'm a hard worker. I take home around $52,000 a year, and I have one other child, so I can't afford the $1 to $5K cost out of pocket. With market prices in Roxbury going up, most of my monthly pay is already gone to my $2,216 rent. It's absurd how long the year wait is, and by the time I save up $5K, Peter will already be well into middle school. In the meantime, Peter stays after school with Mrs. Phillip for extra help, but we've seen little to no improvement. It's created a sense of pressure within his abilities to be like his classmates, which then builds onto the stress.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, we have Peter, a third grader with dyslexia, here to tell us about his experience. Peter, how do you feel about school? Is schoolwork harder for you?
Hi, I'm Peter and I have dyslexia. School is very annoying and hard for me because I have a lot of makeup work to do since I keep falling behind my classmates during class. Sometimes I can get frustrated with work in school and I am not doing the work because it's very hard to understand. Schoolwork is hard because the words look weird on the page. Some letters look like they're jumping off the page. Sometimes different letters look the same, like B and D and P and Q. The worst is homework. When I do homework, I yell, scream, and cry a lot because it takes a long time to do and is hard. Homework is the worst part of the day for me because I play sports too, and sometimes I feel too tired to do homework. Also, when I do my homework, it can take a long time, which is not good because sometimes I get a headache or feel really sick when I'm reading or writing for a long period of time.
Thank you for sharing, Peter. Joining us next is Miss Phillip, here to tell us about her experience as a teacher.
Hi, my name is Michael Ann Phillip, and I'm a fourth grade teacher in Samuel W. Mason Elementary. I am trained in special education learning and ESL instruction. I go to various workshops annually about various learning disabilities and work with special education kids daily. What I notice with children with dyslexia is I'm falling behind other students. They usually get lower test grades and have lower reading levels, so I try to pay close attention to students that seem like they're struggling in class. Because every class in my school has two teachers, this makes it very easy because whatever I don't notice, my coworker will. Low test grades are not enough to think a student has dyslexia because many students can hide their problems very well and can also have higher average grades. Besides falling behind other students, my coworker and I will look out for students that are struggling with spelling, pronunciation, and difficulty understanding information. There's a school psychologist that can diagnose the students for dyslexia at no extra cost to the parents. Besides being diagnosed, the student can receive immediate treatment from my coworker and me since we are trained in teaching students with dyslexia. This way, parents can save money and time.
Thank you so much. Lastly, we have a neuropsychologist with more details on this issue.
Hello, my name is Yohan Pereira. I am a neuropsychologist, and I'm here to give insight on what's happening with Boston's special education elementary students. I wanted to start off by giving more insight on what dyslexia actually is and what's going on in the brain. In a non-dyslexic mind, there are three major areas in your brain that activate your reading, writing, and speech skills. Broca's area, parietal temporal area, and the occipital temporal area. In the parieto temporal area, new readers will use this area to analyze new words. And the occipital temporal area remembers how the word is spelled, the meaning, and the pronunciation, and stuff like that. And the Broca's area is the speech workshop, as I like to call it, which basically helps put words in the correct order to form a sentence. In a dyslexic mind, the parietal and occipital temporal area are both turned off, so that overloads the Broca's area. And moving on to focusing on Massachusetts and Roxbury, PewResearch.org states grades K through 12 in Massachusetts, 18% of those students are enrolled in special education. And that's according to federal data recorded last year, aka 2020, meaning 1 in 6 children are affected by dyslexia in Massachusetts. These also may not be concrete numbers, and Boston isn't doing anything to make sure we identify all of the students. They're doing a poor job at it. That's the whole problem. A solution I present to parents and faculty of West Roxbury is to create an online screening that parents and children can access. Right now, there is no guaranteed support for children with dyslexia from the schools in Massachusetts. So, one free online reliable screening exercise is recommended. It takes about 15 minutes and has a kid pronounce the words they see on screen, and a supervisor clicks it if it's correct. Once completed, the results will show. And over 200,000 parents have used this free scanner, and around 53,000 people reviewed it as 4.8 stars. So it's working.
Thank you to our guests and everyone for listening to this episode of The Boston Talk.